This video is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Theory timeline video. I made a video a couple of years back titled Yu-Gi-Oh! Timeline Explained, and I think it kind of aged somewhat well, as I guessed Vrains was going to be a thing. For those of you who know my videos, they're a bit of an improv sort of situation. I have no script or anything like that, so don't expect a high quality video from me. But yeah, so I just want to talk about this theory that I have, which is it kind of links some, if not all, of the timelines together. And the big kind of gap that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime has is Yu-Gi-Oh! The original series ties in, GX ties in, and then 5Ds kind of ties in by revealing a few characters that was from the original, called Neo Domino City, whatever it's called. But yeah, it's all tied in together. And then we have like Zeal, which has no kind of connection whatsoever, bar an old guy who uses statue versions of old DM monsters. So with this theory, now this is a theory video, and this is completely, I have seen no other theory like this, and I'm going to connect the Zeal timeline to the 5Ds and all the other timelines, as well as a sort of connection with Arc V in the video. So if you bear with me, you're going to see my theory and my process. But like I said, I've seen no other theory of this or anybody else make this sort of connection but me. So yeah, without further ado, the big reveal is Yuma is Zone, or a version of a Zone in a different dimension that kind of like a bad timeline. For those of you who watch One Piece, there's like a kind of version that is released in an FBS where it shows like a bad timeline that everything went wrong basically. And I'm trying to explain that Yuma or Zone would be a part of this bad timeline. Yeah, basically Yuma is Zone from a bad timeline, and kind of there's a few like proof of this, I suppose. There's so like in Heartland, there's robots and stuff, and like they've advanced to a certain degree, and Yuma's young. So if you look at when Yuma would have been around Yusei Fudo's age, the robots are or Zone would have been Yusei Fudo's age. The robots have like taken over, and it's kind of a Terminator situation where they've taken over the mech lords and they're destroying everything, blah blah blah. And there's also a little nod to some of the friends that Zone has, so the likes of Aporia, Eliaster group. And I've tried to really draw at straws making these connections, but like funny enough, they do kind of work. But his friends would be like Bruno, Aporia, and Paradox. Okay, so I tried to draw some connections there. He has three friends, very similar to Yuma, which would be the likes of, not exactly three, but like, so I tried to look at Shark, and I tried to look at Kite, which is Yuma's friends. Kite, Shark, and then I really had to look at the last one to see where I could make a connection, but let's just look at it for a second. So Kite and Paradox share a lot of similarities in hairstyle and look, and you know, even in like their aces or dragons. I know it's different, synchros, Nixies and Galaxy Eyes, but like he uses eyes dragons, Kite uses eyes dragons. There are connections there. Paradox seems like a bit of a Mazar / Kite character, which is kind of cool. Obviously, let's not look at the voice actors. I would have loved if some of the voice actors were the same in, let's say, the Japanese anime or the movies or whatever, that they were the same or similar. That would have been kind of cool. But that obviously didn't happen. I would have had more connection there. But yeah, so then that's kind of all I have for that, really. Then let's look at the likes of Bruno and Shark. Okay, so obviously Shark is actually a reincarnation of an older person, but there are some similarities with them. For instance, mechanical sharks, and Bruno uses like mechanical He uses sea serpents, he uses animals, he uses stuff to draw mechanical. The tech genius archetype is what he uses. But also there's a one little kind of throwback connection there as well, where their bikes are supremely similar. Now, Shark is the only one of the Zexal characters that I'm aware of that uses a motorcycle or a bike. And Bruno's motorcycle is kind of a very unique motorcycle, and no other motorcycle is like it. And it's very, very similar to Shark. You're going to see on screen a picture of the both side by side, hopefully. But yeah. And the last character I want to talk about is obviously Aporia. So Aporia is like 3 characters, and 3 is very specific. 3 characters combined. Basically, it's his childhood, his middle age, and his old age combined into one character. And there is one other kind of family-esque Zexal character that is very similar to this. Trey, Quattro, and Quinton. And for instance, like Quinton looks very similar to them. But like Trey, the youngest one, he is very, very similar to the one that uses the scale mech lords or whatever. Yeah, even the hair color is similar. And then Quattro is very cynical and kind of has similar hair to the middle one that uses I can't remember the name of it. Weissel, is it? Yeah. He looks very similar to that. And then Quinton has the same hair color as them all and fits very well. And the gas thing is, Aporia uses machine monsters completely. And the 3 brothers use kind of, okay, fair enough, but they use machines. I was thinking like Quattro uses rock and machines, chronomalies. But yeah, they all exclusively use machine types, which is another little, another little connection. Okay, so now I want to go into more, I don't want to say like irrefutable, but more compelling evidence, let's say. So the looks of actual Yuma and Yusei are quite similar compared to like Yugi and Jaden, who don't look anything alike. Yusei and Yuma look very, very similar to each other. And that's, somebody did an artwork, and I can't find it online, but they did an artwork of Yuma kind of in a darker color scheme and a bit older, and he looked very, very similar to Yusei. And like, it's very possible that if the world had been kind of saved by Yusei and none of this Numeron code came out in Zexal, that Yuma would have got a lot older before he actually, became the hero, and maybe too late by then for him to become the hero, so he's much older. And he looks to the past and seeing Yusei, said, "Jeez, I look very similar to him," and just gave himself a tattoo and changed his color scheme from the red hair to a little bit of yellow streaks. It's not too far from the possibility. So that's one little bit of evidence of all of the characters in the story looking quite similar. And I don't see any other situation in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime where they look as similar as those couple of characters that I've mentioned. But I also want to go into the manga as well. So there's another little part of evidence in terms of look. Now, like, if they weren't gonna go with this sort of these theories, or go with this and make it actual, legitimate, they could easily just change a color scheme of hair or something, So I just want to talk about Yuma's father. So I'm going to briefly I won't go into this much. We'll go into this later on in the video. But Yuma's father looks very similar to a character in the GX manga. Now I will go into that later, like I said. But that's not unheard of. The likes of the policeman in 5D, Setsu Trudge, he was actually in the same school as Yuki. He was actually a bully in the manga. So it's not too far similar of like those sort of situations happening. And I think the only thing they changed was gave him an ascot and a scar. You know what I mean? From the manga to the actual, from his older age. But yeah, okay, so other than that, like, obviously Heartland is completely different, but things can change. I'm nearly sure there are different companies anyway that make, like, let's say every second one. So Yu-Gi-Oh was made by the same characters as 5Ds, and GX was made by the same characters as Zexal. I'm nearly sure that's the way it goes. So yeah, there's only like a small bit of the case material they can actually use. The last thing I want to discuss is to go back to the manga and tie in Zeal with Arc 5, whatever. Okay, so the only way, and there is actually connection here. For those of you who don't know, there was an Arc V manga, and it's kind of completely different to the anime. Basically, there's a lot more time travel than there is dimensions. One of those characters is one of the main villains, and her name is Eve. And Eve uses a very specific set of cards. Now, before I say this to you, I want to ask, does any other character in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime use cards used by another character? So, does anybody in DM use like an archetype or like an ace monster, let's say, of another one? Does somebody else use blue eyes? Now, I understand, like Joey uses red eyes, and then Atticus Rose uses red eyes in GX. Okay, so there are some instances. But have you ever seen a character use 3 other characters' cards in the same deck, let's say? Okay, I'm going to stop teasing, I'm just going to explain. Okay, so Eve has 3 boss monsters. Very specific boss monsters, and it fueled the idea for this theory originally, back when I seen it years ago. For some reason, just never made a video, but I said I wanted to do one just to have it on the channel, just to have it just for you guys or whatever, right? Anyway, okay. So, if I were to tell you that Eve had a Timelord card used by used by Zone, sorry, a Utopia card used by Yuma, you would think, wait, whoa. This whole video is about Zone and Yuma being connected, and here's a character called Eve who has the 2 ace cards that they use. Yeah, okay. Eve uses one more card, and it's a Phantasm card. Now, this is where I'm going to go back real quick to the GX manga and talk about Yuma's Father again. Okay, so Yuma's Father looks very similar to a GX character, a GX villain in the manga, who uses Phantasm cards. Okay, so the connection you have is Eve uses these 3 monsters, and Zone, Yuma, and Yuma's Father, obviously not Yuma's Father, but a character that looks very similar to Yuma's Father, uses this Phantasm card as well. So there's a synchro fusion in XC. They're her main cards, or main boss monsters and stuff. Yeah, so those are the connections to the theory and my evidence of what I have, that Yuma is Zone in a different timeline or different dimension, a more darker timeline, and like it can easily be explained away with when Zone decided to send some of his compadres back in time, changing time, causing this ripple and changing his own destiny, maybe even causing the Numeron code by changing time. It could ripple effects, the butterfly effect, for those of you know. Who knows what sort of tests he did first. He could have caused the whole Numeron sort of situation. As we've seen, Astral and his situation was actually like the inhabitants of Atlantis. It looked like space creatures, but I don't think it is. I think it's like Atlantis and people, reincarnations of characters back in old China, different things like that. And this very well with Zone messing with time could have easily caused these characters, a ripple effect, and causing those characters to maybe die, and then them coming back and reincarnate in his timeline as a younger one to kind of enact revenge without knowing. But yeah, it could very easily, like, they could make a movie that could easily connect all these timelines together by having a great big villain, or maybe the final protagonist go through time and collect all of the main protagonists, basically, and turn out to be the big main guy ends up being the main antagonist because he took the main good guys. And that's what happened with Arc V. All of the main characters were taken out and replaced with Arc V's. New boys basically took over for all our main characters, but they had very similar kind of emotions to each other, which is kind of crazy, like. But like, that could easily be explained or easily be done in like a little movie where, they take all the main characters out and replaced, and it shows that replacement connecting all of the timelines bar Vrains, but Vrains can easily be explained as like the aftermath of everything going back to normal, but yeah, so I hope you liked the video, guys. I hope it's not too long. I hope you like the theory. If there's any other theories you think I should do, or think that's interesting, or you think this one's interesting, be sure to let me know. Yeah, so thanks for watching. If you made it this far, fair play to you. You're a good owl skin. And yeah, good luck.